Hey everyone, audio discourse. Thought I would come on and just read something for you guys that I think is very relevant for now. Shoot, more relevant than a lot of people think. Talk about some quarantine stuff. Um, this was the ultimate quarantine, and when I read it, you'll see why. This is about Passover, and I think this particular situation is making a lot of us sit and reflect on a lot of things, you know. Um, One of the things I personally think that we should reflect on is the Most High and just how He works and what He does. I'm saying that because that's what I'm learning. I'm always learning that regardless, but that's one thing. Um, Passover is not only celebrated amongst Jewish people, but also amongst us Christians, us Orthodox Christians at that. Now, a lot of people in the West will call theirs Easter. We don't call it that in the Orthodox Church. At least traditionally, we don't. Um, we call it Pashka or Fasika. The Ethiopian church calls it that. That's what we call it. And that basically means Passover. Pashal, Pasha, Pashka. That's, correct me for all those that can say that correctly. Let me know if I'm saying it wrong. But yeah, or Fasika. So yeah, that's Passover. And I'm going to just read to you guys and I'll give you some more opinions or just what I'm going to say after, in regards to what I'm going to read. All right, you guys, it's in pretty much Exodus 12 and basically I'm going to just read a part of the chapter. Let me just read it. Sorry. Now, the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be your beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak to all the congregations of the children of Israel, saying, On the 10th day of this month, every man shall take for himself a lamb, according to the family households, a lamb for each home. If there be too few in a household, let him and his neighbor next to his house take it according to the number of souls. He will make his count in lambs according to the needs of each one. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it from the sheep or the kids. Then you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it at twilight. They shall take some of the blood and put it on the 2 doorposts and on the lintel of the houses where they eat it. They shall eat the flesh on that night, roast in the fire with unleavened bread and bitter herbs. They shall eat it. Do not eat it raw, nor boil it with water, but roast in fire its head with legs and its entrails. You shall let none of it remain until morning, nor shall you break a bone of it. What remains of it until morning, you shall burn it with fire. Thus you shall eat it with a belt on your waist, your sandals on your feet, and your staff in hand. You shall eat it in haste. It is the Lord's Pascha or Passover. For I will pass through the land of Egypt on that night, and will strike all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast. and against all gods of Egypt I will execute vengeance. I am the Lord. Now the blood shall be a sign for you on the houses where you are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be on you to destroy you when I strike the land of Egypt. So this day shall be to you a memorial. You shall keep it as a feast day to the Lord throughout your generations. You shall keep it as a feast by an everlasting ordinance. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first day you shall remove leaven from your houses. Whoever eats leavened bread from the first day until the 7th day, that soul shall be cut from Israel. On the first day there shall be a holy convocation, and on the 7th day there shall be a holy convocation for you. No servile work will be done on them. Whatever must be done by each soul, this shall be done by you. So you shall keep this commandment. For on the same day I will bring your army out to the land of Egypt. Therefore you shall observe this day throughout your generations as an everlasting ordinance. On the first month, on the 14th day, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month at evening, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 21st day of the month at evening. For 7 days no leaven shall be found in your houses, since whoever eats what is leavened, that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Israel. Whether he is a stranger or a native of the land, you shall eat nothing leavened. In your dwelling you shall eat unleavened bread. Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, Go away and take a lamb for yourselves, according to your families, and the sacrifice of Passover. Then you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in blood in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood in the basin. But none of you shall go out from the door of his post until morning. Talk about quarantine, huh? For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass by the door, not allow the destroyer to come into your houses to strike you. Now you shall observe this thing as an ordinance for you and your children forever. So if you enter the land of the Lord shall give you, so if you enter the land of the Lord shall give you, sorry about that, guys. So if you enter the land of the Lord shall give you, as he promised, you shall keep this service. Thus it shall be when your children say to you, What does this service mean? That you say, This is the Passover sacrifice of the Lord, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he struck Egypt and delivered our households. So the people bowed down and worshipped. Then the children of Israel went away and did as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so they did. Sorry, you guys, I definitely need glasses. And the thing is, God commands us to do certain things. That's a perfect example of that. And just how he commanded them to do certain things to keep them protected by him and to have no plague hit them. It kind of reminds me of what's going on here. You know, how we have to self-quarantine and wear masks and all that. So, you know, this particular, virus, or some people are not even saying it's a virus. They think it's actually something else. And I still pray against it no matter what. So it won't hit us. Think about this. Even in the context of this particular situation that we're in, I think God is really showing us that. I noticed something. Not to interrupt myself, but I noticed something that's kind of strange. You don't really hear too much about wars or people acting up, and I heard murders down and all that stuff. And it's weird how the economy is kind of doing some weird, is not functioning the way it usually does. It's almost like it's almost like the human species has kind of been brought down a bit. I don't know what's going to happen more, but it's cool that at least you see some people giving people time to pay certain bills or whatever. I think I'm seeing a little bit more compassion. I'm not saying that I want this thing to remain, but it just shows you the potential of the human race whenever something like this happens, that there's a common enemy, not to get too far off in the woods. And it seems like, the human race will act a certain way because of this particular situation. And I'm not saying that certain things, people are still not doing cricket stuff, because they are, but you see certain things not happening as much, I would say. But to bring it back to even the Passover, this is a time to sit and reflect on how mortal you are as a human, and how immortal God is, and how God is calling us, to follow him and to be what he wants us to be in this world, to be the very reflecting image of what he wants instead of what we think that we want. I'm saying this from myself, of course, but I just thought I would share this to anyone hearing this. This is not something that that I think, I won't say it's a blessing in disguise. I will say it's a reflecting thing that God has shown the human race, that, like he did in the Tower of Babel, that the only way to basically have life is through him. And he gives life. He can also take it away. That's humbling. We're not God, you guys. A lot of people will say that they're God and all this stuff. No, we're not. And talk about some quarantining, that, they were given specific rules to not be affected by what was coming to the land of Egypt. And they weren't affected when they followed those rules. But even when you talk about Passover, for us Orthodox Christians, we look at it as a fulfillment of our Messiah, Christ. Even when it comes to the lamb and the firstborn, and also just, when you talk about the crucifixion, none of Yeshua's bones were broken, and he was a sacrificial lamb for us. And basically, like, Some people will say that the mark that they made on the doorpost was sort of like a cross symbol, so that means a whole lot to us as well. I think the best thing in that regards is just showing how much mercy God is having on us, and how much mercy he has on us to not only, give us life, but also to warn us about our very things that we're doing here. A lot of people will talk about how God is radically different in the Old Testament. Actually, he wasn't. He was the same God that was in the New Testament. God cared a lot about people enough to give them warnings, like he did with the flood. He did this also in what I just read. Because if you didn't do it, the angel of death would have visited their homes. God always gives us warnings, and even now, we're doing a lot of things as humans that are totally anti-God. And to be honest, as much as I hate to say this, and as much as I have my opinions about this particular situation, and how it began and all that, this is a very humbling moment. I think it's a very humbling moment to really look at ourselves as a human species and in our context to the Most High, whether you believe in the Most High or not. I believe that, how could I say this? When we follow the Most High, he saves us even from eternal death, because we're all going to leave here, but there is an eternal death. Our souls are eternal because we're made in the image of the Most High. But if we're without the Most High, we choose to not be with the Most High, then that's not a good situation. And to be without the Most High is hell. And you don't want that eternally. We're all works in progress. I pray that the Most High draws all of us, no matter what and where we are. But I pray for you guys all in this quarantine thing. I pray that the Most High draws your soul and helps your soul and heals your soul, even if you don't believe in the Most High. This is not a better than thou thing either. This is me as another fellow human being, just expressing concerns that I have about our human species and how we've done a lot of things that aren't cool, and this is a result of that. Whatever this thing is, I'm not saying that God is trying to punish us or anything like that. I can't put that because I'm not God, but I do believe that this is a time of reflection to him, and just I just pray for everybody right now. I really pray that however you guys are feeling, that the Most High draws you in his peace. And read Exodus 12. I only read a little bit of it, but see how God worked in that. It's a very interesting thing, especially around this time. Just even reflection as far as like Passover and all that stuff. And they had to do some kind of self-quarantining and follow God's instruction for them to be safe and for them to be protected. And for them to basically have this pass over them, I guess maybe I'm using this as a metaphor for what's going on now, but it's kind of got some interesting parallels. I'd like to know what you guys think about that, even if you disagree. I'm not going to debate you, but yeah, I'm curious about that. But either way, I pray in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, one God, amen. For peace on your lives and blessings to you, and may the Most High draw and guide you. Besime Ab, Wawel, Waman, Feskadus, Ahadu, Amlak, Amin. Peace.